Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to the breakdown. It is Sunday evening, my favorite show of the week. I love it. Get to chat to you guys. Welcome back to the channel. Whew! It is a warm one at our first preseason friendly today with the boys. A bit of a loss against sides 2-3 years older than them, and the other times, and the other team had like 2.5 teams to play each half, which was interesting. I am glowing, but it is cool. It was good to be back at it. Welcome. What shall we talk about? Because there's loads to talk about. There's I don't know if you saw my 5 things video earlier on today, where we discussed a few things. Obviously, we'll elaborate on some of that stuff. We'll talk about it. I do think, look, one of the things that's important to recognize is that preseason can be real deceptive. Just even if you just look at a Cardiff point of view, last year, Errol Bullock played out of possession, an out of possession shape of almost, what was it, like a 2-3-5, where he had the fullbacks, the 10s, and the striker all right up on the, and then I was gone halfway through the first game. Do I think Barry Murphy's going to do that? No. Which is why I've tried to focus more on what we're seeing in the press, what we're seeing in shape and things like that, because I think what Barry Murphy is doing as a new manager is he's trying to implement certain things into the team as a whole. And seeing those things, like, for instance, the way Ruben Colwell's been pressing, I've never seen him do that before. So, you know, against Johar on Saturday, I was like, oh, maybe he's, or midweek, sorry, maybe that's just he's trying to impress the manager. But he did it again last night. And I think he's got the benefit of it. So he's not the only one. Dylan Lawler. Now I'm just gonna warn you all now, right? I am gonna big Dylan Lawler up during the show tonight. So for the guy who got really stroppy with me the other day, saying that I'm putting too much pressure on him, this show's probably not for you, my friends, because we are gonna talk about how good Dylan Lawler is and how the club needs to sign him to a 5-year contract. It's interesting. So, question for the evening, and I'm going to put a poll up about this. How should I word it? Should Ruben Colwell be captain? Would you make Ruben Colwell? I'm going to say, would you be happy if Ruben Colwell was captain? I shall put that in a poll now, and then we'll see where it is at the end of the show. There's a few people who've impressed. There was a few people who were noticeable by their absence, which we'll also discuss about those guys. There's 1 or 2 which I think are not doing themselves justice, shall we say. We'll talk about that. There's a lot to discuss. As always, the breakdown is an interactive show, so I will go to the comments quite a lot throughout the show as well, but I'll also mix that in with my opinion. Barry Murphy ultimately likes working with younger players. So whilst I accept what I saw a couple of people saying on like Facebook about, you know, you probably won't see a lot of these young players come the start of the season. Maybe not. But I think you're more likely to see them than you would be under other managers. Do I think we need a couple of players? Yes, absolutely we do. And I think we will see them sooner than later. I think when they get back from Spain, I think that's when you might see some movement. So let me put this question to you as well. Alex Robertson, right? Alex Robertson looks like a player. How can I word this? He looks like a player who maybe knows he's going. He could be. Let's be fair to him. It could just be he's getting back to fitness, feeling his way in, and he's not quite at it yet. Could easily be that. Okay? But he does look like a player who, dare I say it, is going through the motions. And we all know that he's much more, you know, he's a much better player than he's shown in the 2 halves of football that we've seen so far. So, you know, it's preseason friendly start. It's the first 2 games. On one hand, it's not a be-all and end-all. So it could just be he's finding his feet, getting used to playing under Barry Murphy, etc. Maybe he's not fit, whatever. It could also be, like, I'm pretty sure, in my opinion, the club received a bid for him of 6 million at the latter part of last week, which they were considering. Is it possible that he's on his way? I think it's certainly conversation to be had. Now, I would prefer to keep I would have preferred to keep Alex Robertson, right? However, if selling him for 6 million and the trade-off for that is that we bring in Darko Gyabi and we keep Yusuf Salic and Ruben Colwell, I'm kind of okay with that trade-off. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that as a trade-off? What do you think about if we were to sell Alex Robertson? I said all along, I thought either Robertson or Turnbull would probably go. At the end of the season, it seemed like Robertson was going to be the one to go. Then when Brian Barry Murphy came in, I heard he was a bit more comfortable with staying. Ultimately, right, if someone doesn't want to be here, I don't care who it is. If they don't want to be here, if they're not buying into it, if they're not with the manager, whatever the reason is, but if they're not buying in, they should be moved on. Right, polls going up. Would you be happy if Ruben Colwell is made captain? And we'll come back to that poll later in the chat. Now, if you gave me a choice, so I just noticed that comment there. If you gave me a choice about would I rather sell, do you mean Robertson or Di Turnbull? So I'll just check for that. If you give me the choice, and I'm the manager, do I want to? If I had to sell one of them and it was Robertson or Di Turnbull, I'd probably prefer to sell Turnbull, if I'm honest. I think there's a player in Turnbull. I just don't know whether we've got the role for him to excel. I'm not sure. He's still trying to work out what he's best at. So the sell-on fee with Robertson is 35 million. 35 million? 35%. So, yeah, it's one of them. Dan's followed that up and he said, I'd rather sell Callum Robinson and Di Turnbull and then keep Robertson. Yeah, I agree. I would rather keep Alex Robertson. He's young. He's good. He's a technically good footballer. And I think he'll do well under Barry Murphy's system. I particularly think he'll do well if we have a quite dynamic number 6, like a Darko Gyabi or Eli King. I think Robertson could benefit from that, and I think he'll benefit from Colwell being more aggressive. But we shall see. But yeah, with Robertson, it's going to be interesting. Of course, and look, it's a guess, mate. Right? I know we've had a bid for him. But I'm just guessing in that I think he looks like a player who's maybe his heart or his head's not there, with it. But you can't, I don't know that for sure. So, he's perfectly able and capable and has the opportunity to say, no, I want to stay. I don't want to move. So every sale is a gamble. Every player you bring in is a gamble. Every manager you bring in is a gamble. So I want to start first and foremost in the right back position, right? Perry NG is out until December. I did a video released on Friday, but I had been researching it for probably about 2 weeks before that, on and off. Watched a lot of clips, watched a couple of full games on Will Spears. The video was well received. They had a message from someone in his family and stuff like that. And they were very happy with it. But regardless. And then as the video was released, I had a message saying he's just been called up with the first team. Went to the first team. Played a half of football yesterday at right back. And just looked beyond his years in many ways. Very comfortable on the ball. But I thought he was defensively really good. Really aggressive in his duels. Positionally, very switched on. Communicating with the centre-backs and the winger, linked up well, carried the ball really well. If Perry NG is out till December, which I think is the case, you've got Ronan Capacchio, which I don't care what anyone says, from a fan point of view, because I've seen some people saying, well, Capacchio can just play. Capacchio cannot play every game. He's just coming back from a serious injury. Yes, he's young, of course. He's got the energy, but you have to protect his load. You have to look after him. However, I believe if you bring a right back in who's a bit more experienced, you are halting or at least obstructing the progress of Pacquiao and Spears. So, all right, if you bring in a right back who's a bit more established or a bit more experienced, then one of them's got to go on loan. I know they were talking about Pacquiao going on loan, but that was before Perieng's injury. I wouldn't be against. I'm not sure exactly when the window shuts, so I checked that. But I wouldn't be against going into the first couple of games with Spears and Pacquiao as the options, because you've also got a couple of other utility players who can fill in there if one of them got a knock or whatever. When does the transfer window close? So, obviously Dylan Lawler played right back the other day. I thought he did a decent job. But I thought that, or I think that he's so much better at centre back. I think Dylan Lawler's our best centre back. Probably not even close either. So back to the right back. I wouldn't be disappointed if we went into the season with Pacquiao and Spears as the options, with the idea that Perieng is coming back. And you also have the option that you could play Fish or Lawler there as well. So you have a few different options, because if we have not got loads of money, there's other positions that I think are more vital to improve. Like, we need a left back much more quickly than we do a right back, in my opinion. It's just an opinion. Like, you can't we simply don't have the money to just buy 10 players, so you have to prioritize. And for me, we still, I think, need an experienced centre back. We need a left back. We probably need a number 6. I know it's Ryan Wintle, right? So we'll move on from right back to the centre midfield. Let's talk about the number 6 options. So realistically, our number 6 options as they stand are Ryan Wintle, Eli King, David Turnbull, or Joel Colwell. I think it'd be too much pressure and expectation to start playing Joel Colwell as number 6 now. Like, you've got to let him bed into the first team a bit before you ask him to do that role. He is capable of doing it, though. David Turnbull, against certain opposition, we did all right with Robertson and him with Ruben in front. But I don't think he offers you enough defensively for what we're going to face in League One. So the window shuts September the 1st. So with that in mind, so Ryan Wintle really divides opinions. So I look on socials and the people like fans I speak to, people at the club even as well. Like, some people think he's been pretty good in the last couple of games. Other people think he's been all right, but just nothing special. And I don't think he's been sensational. I had this conversation with a couple of people yesterday. I don't think he's been sensational. I don't think he's been amazing. I think yesterday he was good again. He looked after the ball really well. He's defensively switched on. I think he can pop a nice diagonal off and stuff, which is good for a number 6. But equally, I think sometimes he's not quite progressive enough in his passing. But do we need a progressive number 6? Or do we need someone who is defensively switched on and just goes about their business quietly, just winning the ball, moving along and covering? Maybe that's what we need for this system and the other players to excel. So that's kind of interesting side to it. I think Eli King's extra yard of pace gives him a little bit more explosiveness in the terms of he's just quicker to press, quicker to get into the duels, the 50-50s. So, but then equally, He's a young player, and a few times that he receives it, he doesn't receive it on the half turn. So he ends up going back the same way instead of if he's got his body open up, he can keep it moving out to the other side. Something which is very coachable, very easy tweak. I think Eli King has been real impressive the 2 games that we've played. I think he's done a really good job. I thought yesterday, the first 5 or 10 minutes of that second half, he was just trying to force the passes a little bit, maybe a bit of nerves, a bit of anxiousness. But then once he settled, I thought he was very, very good. If I was picking a team, or if I was trying to build this team for Brian Barry Murphy, or if I was Brian Barry Murphy trying to build this team, I think that we can get a better option at number 6. I think there's better players available who we could sign realistically, which wouldn't cost a fortune, that would raise the ceiling and raise the floor of that position. Because if Wintle and or Eli King is your sort of back at number 6, that's a good floor. And if the number 6 you bring in is better, then that's raising the ceiling of that position also. But I'm interested. Like, let me know what you think. Like, where do you stand on that position? Because we do need someone who can sweep up and do that dog work, if you like. Have either one of them made it their own for you? Or do you think there's a bit of openness about it and maybe you bring in someone else? Let's talk about the centre-backs. Right. So, in my opinion, the centre-backs in the first half is my current preferred pairing of Fish and Lawler. I thought Will Fish looked much more relaxed with Dylan Lawler next to him, which is mad when you think that Dylan Lawler's a kid, like a teenager. But it just showcases again how composed, how organised, how quality he is, that and a slightly older player is more comfortable with him, or certainly perceived to be. I think Fish needs to work on his longer passing a little bit, and he gets dragged out of position a little bit. But with Dylan Lawler there with him and pacey fullbacks, you can afford to get dragged out of position a little bit, not too much. His short passing's fine, and you can also almost go, right, well, you win the ball, give it to Dylan Lawler, or give it to the number 6 and let them do the passing. So I think Will Fish, as an out-and-out centre-back, is very, very good. Just headers, blocks, organisation, that sort of side of it. Tsunoda is on his way, I think, to a Japanese club. Seems to be quite far along, so I'd imagine he has played a couple of games in pre-season, and that's all we'll see from him in a Cardiff City shirt. So, look, I thought he looked okay, but a guy can't stay fit, and probably got to make a decision. And it depends who's impressed and who hasn't. And on that note, there has been a rumour or two, shall we say, that Brian Barry Murphy doesn't quite fancy Darland, and a couple of others, a Tete. So, with regards to the centre-backs, Chambers on the ball, I really like. I really do like him on the ball. But his lack of pace worries me. We saw him get exposed at centre-back numerous times at the start and right at the end of the season by players being able to get in behind him or players being able to pull him out of position and then someone else going in behind. He likes to press and win the ball, like go and try and win the ball, and that can sometimes sort of cost him. On the ball, he's great, organised, experienced. I do like him. It's all subjective, right? In opinions, one person will say Callum Chambers should start, another person will say Dylan Lawler or Will Fish or whatever. I personally like Fish and Lawler as a duo. Chambers is a bit of a weird one for me because I do like him, but can you afford to have your highest paid player as a squad player? I'm not sure in a club in our financial position. So it's one we're going to have to deal with. Again, though, like I said with Will Fish, if you had Chambers and you've got pacey fullbacks and pacey centre-back next to him, can they make up and cover for his lack of pace? Because then he's organised and he's talking and he is an experienced player. So it's an interesting one. Darland, yeah, I'm not sure. I was hoping that Darland would really kick on. What we've seen, very small sample size. He didn't look like he has physically is the issue with him. Left back, I really thought that Louis Giles was going to be going on loan this season, largely because the physical side, I think he needs to be knocked about a bit in probably the non-league or League Two and get some games. Now, it is pre-season, so you've got to obviously always bear that in mind. You've got to bear in mind the opposition, etc. But I thought he did a really good job yesterday. It was really interesting. You could hear the coaches and Brian Barry Murphy talking to him about when to go press, when to hold, when to sit in, when to cut. Like, it was really interesting, but really good, like, to hear coaches like helping a young player who has got a tremendous amount of quality on the ball. He's good in his duels and he's good defensively, but he is a bit lightweight. So, look, right, as much as I want to see the young players breaking through, you've got to look after them and make sure they're ready. Like, Dylan Lawler is ready to play first-team football. Maybe not start every week, but he's ready to be in the squad and playing. I don't think you can go into this season with your fullback options being Pacquiao and Spears and Bagan and Giles. It's a little bit too young. I know you've got NG to come back who can play both sides. Maybe that's why, but it is concern, you know. Let me know what your centre-back pairing would be. What did you think of Louis Giles' performance? Do you worry about him physically, or do you think he showed enough? Because I do think he looked vastly improved from a physical point of view yesterday. So maybe that is a good sign. Let me know what you thought about Will Spears, of course, as well. Right, we'll leave it there in terms of talking about the positions. Let's flip over to the comments, see what you guys are saying, is it? Welcome, JT. JT says, if we start replacing the sales with academy players, then I'm concerned promotion is not the aim. Squad needs 3, possibly 4 signings ASAP. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, like, so for instance, just on there, we need a pacey winger, right? I think Naya Kahawa has looked every bit a player that we've lacked. Pacey, skillful, direct. But I think his final ball, final decision-making is not quite there. Now, can you go into the season with him as a bench player? Because you've got Isaac, you've got Kean Ashford, you might have Ollie Tanner, you've got wide players who have got a bit, you know, a bit more experience, and then you go in with him as like a 4th option? Or do you loan him out and bring in someone from the outside on loan who can do that role? I really been quite impressed with him. It's just that final ball that's maybe let him down a little bit. But again, like I was saying about Eli King and his body position, that's a very, very coachable thing and a very small, it's probably a bit of a larger tweak than body position, but you can work with him on his final ball and improve it in a month or two. Like if you really set a program and work it with him, because he's got, like, the rest of it's been real good. His movement, when to have it to feet, when to go in behind, little 1-2s and triangles. It's been pretty good. Like, so that's interesting. But I tend to agree with you, mate. You can't just put all the academy players in and expect to, you know, get promoted. You've got to bring in a couple. You've got to supplement it with a couple of players. What's interesting is the majority of players that I've heard us linked to are all young anyway. And then you're like, right, if you're only going to bring in 20-year-olds, why aren't we playing our 20-year-olds? But that's because maybe you might bring in a 20-year-old from a Premier League club, or Darko Giabi, for instance, who's played a season of championship football. He's played at Leeds. He's got first-team experience, so he's further along in his development than maybe a 19-year-old in our academy is. So you've got it. It's all subjective. It's all specific to each individual player. Ian Paul says BBM will be adding specific players that can enhance the squad. That will be part of the process. Players coming in will be key players, not gambles. So on that, in my opinion, every signing you bring in, every player you put through the academy, every player you sell, it's a gamble because you never quite know how people are going to settle, how they're going to do, how they'll cope with the pressure, blah, blah, blah. Cardiff is high pressure environment. So it is a gamble, but I understand what he's saying. The basis of what he's saying is that they're going to bring in first team players who are first team ready. So that's encouraging. JT says he'll pay for Tsunoda's flight to Japan. Hopeless player made of glass. I don't know if he's hopeless, mate. I haven't seen enough of him, to be fair. But yeah, availability is the best ability, and that is something which he's struggled with. Paul also added, or said, another quote from BBM, adding quality rather than quantity will be a big part of that as we zone in on specific players with the profiles that we believe can bring the way we want to play to life. Again, encouraging. And the other thing is, BBM and Lee Riley have been heavily involved in player profile ID and player recruitment at other clubs at a high level. So they will know exactly the type of player they want, the skill set, the personality, everything which goes in it. I wonder, it's this Tsunoda thing. All I've heard is that he's going to be going back to his former club, I think it is, but I haven't heard if it's a permanent or a loan or whatever. Evening, John. How are you, mate? Okay. Evan says 1 year ago, filled with anxiety, knowing Robertson wouldn't be at the club long, versus now looking forward to seeing him leave. Nothing personal, just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. Oof. Harsh. All yours, Pompey, he says. He did very well at Portsmouth as well. That's harsh, I think, because I think if not for his injury, we'd have had our season started to derail further after we sort of steadied it a little bit after he got injured. I thought he was really impressive until he got injured, and then he came back before he was fit. Evening, Mark. Josh, evening, mates. Busy week ahead indeed. Wonder what it will bring. JT says Pompey can't afford Robertson. They don't have Harry Redknapp and his dodgy resources anymore. Yeah. Be interesting. Evan says I've lost it. Let's go back. See if I can find it. I've lost it. Just clicked the wrong button. Bear with me a second, because I want to try and get through as many people's comments as possible. Right, let's have a look. There you go. He says, is the team you coach older than BBM squad at the moment? Not far off, mate, but yeah. Mark says, Robertson's down tools. Or has he down tools? Sorry, as in the question. Steve Davis says 1-0 down women. The women are 1-0 down to a penalty. That might be old, by the way. John says, agree, Evan. If we can get a decent fee to bring in a young replacement, an experienced head would be good business. I'm surprised how many people would like to see him go. I'm okay with him going if it means, well, twofold. If he doesn't want to be here, then get him gone, as far as I'm concerned. And that goes for anyone who doesn't want to be here. And if him going means we keep Salic and Ruben, I'm definitely all right with it. Like, those two are the two which I absolutely would not sell under any circumstances. And we turned down a bid for Salic last week at the same sort of time as Robertson. And it was a big bid as well. So that is very encouraging. Kyle says, think Colwell has a point to prove this season, make or break season for him. I don't know if it's maybe make or break for him at Cardiff. I don't think it's make or break for his career, but I think outside of Cardiff, he's probably even more highly rated. It's just one of them things, but I do think he'll have a good season. Josh says, Captain Colwell for me. We'll have a look at that poll later. JT says no and no, so I don't know what that was about because we're a bit behind, but I'm sure you can let me know. Josh says, leading by example with the press. Interesting. Evan says, either Colwell or Salic for captain. Yeah, be happy with that. Richard said he'd rather Colwell concentrate on his own game than have the captaincy. Yeah, it can go either way, can't it? Like captains giving someone a responsibility of the captaincy can sometimes bring out the best of them. But I think it can also sometimes make them too confused upstairs and they don't do the natural things. So I understand both reasoning. I just think that the way Brian Barry Murphy has talked about him and bigged him up, and then I was watching the way he was talking to him, he's clearly trying to make him feel and be a big part of his thing, and he wants him to be the face of the new era. And I just wonder whether he'll give him the captaincy. I don't think he will ultimately, but it's interesting, and I think it's the right way to go, because I believe one of Ruben's but one of the things that's stopping him from clicking into what he can actually be is, I think he needs to have a bit of arrogance about him and a bit of like belief in like, I am the guy and I'm going to go do this. I'm going to lead this team and I'm going to be the guy. And he needs aggression and physicality, which we've probably seen more of in the last 2 games than we've seen ever. So that's another interesting side. Rhys, welcome, buddy, says there's a reason this is the #1 Cardiff-based channel. Looking forward to another great show. Nah, mate, that's very kind, as always. Paul says, worried Lawler could go for practically nothing, should be dealing with his contract at the moment. Mate, we should have signed him to a contract last summer. It is a worry, isn't it? Because if he goes this year, if he goes before the season starts, he will go for 600-700 grand simply because he's played 2 games. You can't sell him on potential when you haven't played him. If he had played 15-20 games last year, then you can ask for more, because you can then say, well, yeah, we saw the potential in him. We played him at 17-18, but we didn't. So this is a difficult one. Richard says we've got to get him signed at the earliest opportunity, 100%. Yeah, Tsunoda back to Japan, 1.5 million, John says there. Dan says, my view is I'd rather someone else be captain, but if it's going to improve him and he plays like he has been this preseason, then I'm all for it. Yeah. Rhys says, to be fair to Rubes, he's out-muscling players now, whereas previously he was too easy to push the ball. Agree with that. He's got a bit more aggression, hasn't he? Mark says Robertson looks lost. Kyle says Robertson wants all the highs of football but doesn't like the downs, doesn't want to stick around for the downs either. So there was a player yesterday, or after the game yesterday, who had to do extra sprints because they had a bit of a paddy. I won't name him, but, is what it is, isn't it? But that's good to see Brian Barry Murphy, as well as wanting to play pretty football and press, and he's a great coach and he's getting on with the players and he's building this good environment for young players. He's also got like a professional standards, mate. Like if you ain't doing it if you're not doing it the way he wants, when he wants, and you can go do sprints or laps or whatever, and I will love that. I don't know who the bid's off, mate. Is the other thing. I think it's from a championship club. I don't know who the bid's off. I don't know who the bid for Salic was off either, but I'm very impressed that the club turned down the amount that they turned down. I gotta say that, because I was panicking. I really was, because historically Cardiff do not turn down that sort of money, and yeah. The message from the club is he's not for sale, so that's good. Could be good negotiating, isn't it? Like, I'm sure there's a price for him. I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, 12 million I would sell him, because you can't turn it down. Like, he's played 6 months at the club, but I wouldn't pick up the phone for much less, because he's too difficult to replace. His all-round skill set is just too difficult to replace. You'd have to replace him with a couple of players. I thought Isaac Davis, by the way, did really well through the middle last night. And I'm sure Isaac will get plenty of game time out wide. But if Salic needs a break or a knock or whatever, like, Isaac through the middle is the way to go for me. Really like him through the middle. Gives us a different dynamic as well. Good pressing in behind. If we sell any young players, we should be putting a sell-on clause in there. 100%. Mark says if Mark McGuinness moves on, he could be an extra couple of quid for us. PS says 50% of any fee to Man City, ? So only 3 million I'd keep. It's 35%, but it's still a big chunk, isn't it? If my view on Alex Robertson, right, is if he is happy to stay and he's bought into BBM, I'd prefer to keep him because I think he's an excellent player. If he's remotely not bought into it or he doesn't want to be here, then I would move him on. And that's the same for anyone. John says Darko Gyabi would seem to be a very good replacement for Robertson, even with a sell-on clause, could fund an experienced leader in the middle. Yeah, it's interesting. John says, I'd take 6 million for Robertson, to be honest. Wouldn't want him leaving, but all players have a price. Yeah, it's a lot of money in it for someone who's been here a year, but it's his age and stuff. Like, he could be, we always said he wasn't going to be here for long, but like I would like to have got like 2 or 3 seasons out of him. Lewis says he looked miles off it. Turnbull's been night and day clear of him in the 2 games. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, mate. And I don't think Turnbull's been great. I think he's been all right, but he's been, yeah, I agree, he's been better than Robertson. So early days, isn't it? McAnish, welcome, mate. Says 6 million plus a youngster for Robertson. I'm just worried that if we sell him, then Palace come back in for Colwell with a larger bid than before. So the sort of message from the club has been that Colwell and Salic are not for sale, but everyone's got a price. You know, if someone comes in with big money, Cardiff historically have shown they'll sell. I think it's so important that we keep Yusuf Salic, and I think it's almost as important that we keep Ruben. But Salic, to me, is irreplaceable. Josh says Turnbull's done a better job than Alex Robertson in preseason so far. If Turnbull's head's in it, then keep, especially if Robertson goes. Yeah, I'd keep one of them for sure, as long as they're buying in. Rhys says it looks like Alnwick will be captain, following in club tradition of the DSA. The what's it called, ambassador for the DSA is normally the captain. Doesn't matter though, because it's a new manager, isn't it? So it might be different. It's a fine line. If we give captaincy to Rubes, he'll be the first to get blamed if things go wrong. I mean, he gets the blame anyway, mate, doesn't he? I think personally, I think the captaincy might go to Callum Chambers if he stays. Just a guess, like. Lewis says, by the looks of it, he prefers Turnbull. Yeah, I think that's fair. He looks just, it's only a couple of games, isn't it? Josh says he hates having keepers as captains. I agree with that. Paul says, if a player doesn't want to be here, move him on. No player is bigger in the club. And if that means keeping Salic and Ruben, then flog Robertson. But I feel Robertson still smarting over last season. Yeah, he was very frustrated last season with certain things. And yeah, maybe there's a bit of a hangover as that. Kyle says having Jack Alnwick as captain would be a huge mistake. He showed last season he wasn't capable of being captain. I just don't like having keepers as captains. And also, if we sign either the Fleetwood keeper or like there's been talk of Barry Murphy wanting him or another keeper as well from elsewhere, Alnwick might not be the number one. So, because like most managers bring in their keeper that they like to play the way they want to play, and it would be a mistake to make him captain if you're going to bring another keeper in who's ultimately going to be the number one. But I guess it's what it is it? John says, don't worry so much who's formally named captain as long as we've got 2 or 3 leaders in the team. Yeah, so what I would do is, you know, most managers have like a leadership group. So some of the players I would have in the leadership group, even if they're not captain, Ruben, Salic, and Dylan Lawler. I think Dylan Lawler, he's been a captain all the way through his years. I'm not saying make him captain before that guy says I did, which I didn't, and I've never said that. What I'm saying is have him in the leadership group. He can get used to it. He can be a voice for the younger players. he's also used to leading teams. You could see that by the way he plays and communicates with his teammates. He's a leader. Like, you don't have to be 28 to be a leader. You lead in different ways. Yeah, I don't know if Portsmouth have got the money for Robertson. They might want him, but I don't think they've got that money. We're in complete control of it. He's got a contract. We do not have to sell, so it is what it is, isn't it? But we shall see. I've just had a text message, so I'm just having a quick look at that now, just to make sure it's nothing breaking. But let's I'll come back to the comments in a minute. Let's move on a bit. So let's move. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Nothing for groundbreaking. I just missed a trick. I could have had a live podcast with someone tonight. But there we go. It is what it is. I've been very, very busy today. So moving on, we did the 6, number 8. I think Di Turnbull has been the more impressive of the number 8s in terms of him and Robertson. Obviously, Eli King can play as a number 8 as well. So you might, for some games, as we are now, if we don't bring anyone in, you could see a Turnbull and a Eli King and Wintle pairing. I don't think it's dynamic and progressive enough for the manager, but who knows if he wants to be a bit more secure. Joel Colwell's an interesting one. Like, in many ways, there's a lot of expectation on him. He's so versatile. Like, he can literally play like all the midfield positions. He can play fullback. He can play on the wing, play wing back. He's so versatile. I just hope that doesn't end up hurting him in the long term, because he can't nail down one position and he ends up kind of like being a bit of a jack of all trades instead of really mastering one. I think he's a quality player. He scored a good goal. I wonder whether there's a bit of anxiety to do well, so he's trying to force it sometimes. But I like his aggression and I like his pressing, and he gets around and he like what's the word? He like buzzes around like a bee, like he's everywhere, and I like that. Like, he's busy, but he's got a bit of quality on the ball. I hope that Joel stays with the first team group, because I think he's one which, as the season progresses, will get better. Might start off with 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and then as the season goes, he'll get better and get more time. You know, it depends who comes in, doesn't it? Like, if we sign a midfielder and we don't sell, like we only sell Robertson or Turnbull, or say Robertson goes, and when we bring someone in, is it a bit too crowded in there? I don't know. But I think Joel's been all right in the 2 games. I think Turnbull's been decent in the 2 games without being incredible, but I think he's been good. In terms of the wingers, I thought the first game against Joe Hart, I thought Kean Ashford was excellent. The second game, I didn't think he was as good on the ball. Like, I thought his final ball was off a bit. His decision-making is pretty good about what ball to play and when to go back and when to cut in, create space for fullback to overlap him. I do think Kean Ashford is better on the right. So last year, he had a little spell on the right under Omar Risa, and his decision-making was exceptional. Just like his final ball and everything was really, really good. And I wonder whether he just finds it easier on the right than he does on the left. Because on the left, he has to cut in, whether it's on the right, he can go in or out. I don't know. But he didn't think he was bad. I just thought he was not as good as he was in the first game. However, his pressing and his out of possession work is exceptional. Like, he's really, really good at that. And he's a good technical footballer who's going to do well under this manager. Again, can play all across the front. And then you've got Ollie Tanner. Looks in tremendous shape. Played a really clever ball for Joel Colwell's goal to get his head up and pick Joel Colwell out. Thought that was really good. I still don't think he's shone or done enough over those 2 halves of football that he's played, where I'm like, he definitely starts for me. but I think he's been decent. He looks in good shape. Did not like him having a go at one of the younger players when they misplaced a pass to him. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Joel Caldwell. Didn't like that. Don't want to see that. But other than that, like, I thought he was okay. Clearly got something about him, got the ability. Want to see it now, and I want to see it consistently. Nakagawa, I talked about earlier. Direct, skillful, pacey, good decisions on when to go in behind, when to have it to feet, when to create space for the overlap. I just need him to work on his final ball, final decision making. I thought young Mafiko has struggled a little bit, but again, could be nerves, anxiety, and that. I think he's done all right, but just maybe not seeing the best of him yet. I thought Isaac Davis did really well through the middle, pressed, made good runs, battled for the ball, aggressive. It's difficult when you're not a big target man to be physical, but I thought he was pretty good. And look, it's a process pre-season. You're getting minutes in the legs, maybe trying people in different positions, different shapes, getting used to the rotations and the patterns of play. The one thing which I thought has been really impressive from the collective group is how quickly our press has improved. Our pressing was diabolical last year and wasn't much better the year before under Bullet because he didn't press. This year, or these two games, already, we look organised. They understand the trigger points. They understand when to hold, when to go. They go in together. All very good. Ruben Colwell in the 10 ran the game again. Another assist, or 2 assists it might be, actually, I think. Should have scored. Just absolutely bossed the game. He looks more aggressive than I've ever seen him. He looks bigger, faster, just looks ready for the season and ready to kick on. Pre-season, take into account the opposition and everything like that. You can only play what's in front of you. And he and others are shining. Other players aren't, or certain other players aren't. So, all right, there was a comment in my 5 things after the Joe Hart game saying that I was over-egging, like saying Colwell shone. So I replied and I said, like, well, he was the best player on the pitch, scored an unstoppable free kick, got an assist. So he shone. No? By definition, he shone. I don't think it was OTT. I didn't say, like, he's the best player since sliced bread. Just said he was the best player on the pitch. I thought he was the best player on the pitch again. Dylan Lawler minds. Decision-making, quality, composure. What a player he is going to be. Got to get him tied up to a contract. But yeah, Ruben was great. And I really like Ruben and Salic really starting to build a nice understanding. And then when you add in Isaac, Kean, like all these academy guys, they've got real good chemistry, which I think helps. I thought Will Spears looked impressively good. One half of football, you've got to remember that. But I also have just spent a week watching his other games, and that performance that he put in last night is a regular thing in all aspects. His defensive positioning, how switched on he is defensively, his aggression in the duels, his carrying of the ball, his final ball, he pops up with the odd goal. Like, that's a constant thing with him. So to see him transfer that almost identically into men's football was encouraging. It's difficult. Like, you try not to put pressure on these guys, but it's exciting and it's encouraging. We might sign him right back and we might loan him out or something, but I think he's good. Josh actually just says Will Spears look better than Campacchio for me. Interesting. Evan says Spears looked like he'd been playing first team for 3 years. He did look composed, didn't he? Not just Portsmouth interested, of course, says John. Portsmouth try linking themselves. They love him down there. They were gutted when he didn't sign. They're absolutely gutted. But, it is what it is. We'll definitely bring some players in, I think. It's just I remember we've lost a shitload of money this year. So you have to So, like JT says, that Glenn Williams is convinced we'll sign a right back, so we can forget about Spears and Capaccio being the main right backs. The interesting one is, I had heard that they were thinking of loaning Capaccio, which surprised me because I think we all expected him to kick on this year and compete with Perry. But we need a left back more than we need a right back, I think. Who knows, mate? Because Brian Barry Murphy, he likes working with young players. So, like the likes of Naikawa, Spears, Giles last night, like if they impress Eli King, Joel Colwell, whoever, they impress on the tour or impress in preseason, there's every chance they'll be added or kept in the first team group. He's not afraid to play, play players. Rhys David Evans says been calling for Cody Dramer for the past 2 years, but he's ideal attacking fullback. Yeah, and he can play left or right, so maybe he would be the one. Lewis says, where was Darland and Willock yesterday? So nothing like definite, and I want to make that clear. So let's say, in my opinion, they will certainly Chris Willock, I think, will go, in my opinion. Not saying it's happening. Not saying it's definitely going to happen. I'm saying, in my opinion, Chris Willock will leave Cardiff City. Yes, but Darland, I'm not sure. Don't think there's been any interest, but I think we might be open to playing him. Macanish7 says, don't be scared to play the youngsters. I agree, mate. Richard, this is another thing I agree with. We desperately need a keeper. I agree with that 100%, mate. One of the keepers made a very good save yesterday. I think it was in the second half, diving to his left. What a save that was. I agree we need a keeper, for me anyway. Mark says, if NG commits to the club, then no need to get another fullback if he wants out and sell. We can't sell him. He's injured, so he won't pass the medical. Perry NG as well can play centre-back, right-back, left-back as well. So there's that as well. I think he doesn't find it as easy at left-back, though. Evan says, if Callum Robinson goes, do you think we need a backup striker, assuming Davis might play more on the wing if he's fit? So I think if Isaac hadn't had the injury issues that he'd had, I'd be all right with Isaac being the main backup to him. But I think you got to be realistic, and even if Isaac can stay fit for the majority of the season, you look at his injury record, he'll have a period where he's injured. So you probably need to get another striker in. I would like to see an experienced striker come in who maybe doesn't want to play not doesn't want to, but isn't expecting to play every week, but can fill in the cup, 20 minutes in the league here and there. And you've got, obviously, Isaac who can do it as well. And yeah, there's, I think we see someone come in. I think. I don't know. It depends on Callum Robinson ultimately. Rhys says Callum Chambers not good enough to play 6, lacks mobility. Turnbull's better as an 8. Wintel's better as 6, but would like to see us strengthen. Yeah, I do think we needed 6. I think Eli's done well, and I quite like his skill set. But then, if you bring in a 6, do you have to move Wintel or Eli King out? Do you want 3 number 6s ultimately is, I guess, the thing. So it's one of those. Jonathan says, I don't understand needing a left back for experience, but not needing a right back. Bagan has a lot more experience than Capaccio and Spears. No, what I was saying is, left back, I'm pretty sure Louis Giles is going to go on loan. So you've only got one left back. So we need a left back. If the option, what I'm saying is, with our finances, do we really want to get a left back, which we need, and then go and get another right back when we've got Perry NG to come back and we've got 2 good youngsters? It's a tricky one. Maybe you could get someone in on a short loan at right back till January. I don't know, but I hope that's clarified, what I meant and why. Josh says, think Turnbull's found his place just behind Colwell. He's done well. He's done all right. Mark says, Wintel's been good. Eli King's really impressed me. I agree with both of those things. John says, Eli King and Ryan Wintel have both seemingly worked hard and earned a chance. Yeah, and that's the thing. They both seem to have bided their time and they've come back with the right attitude. And I do like it. And like as Rhys has said there, right? The right number 6 makes everything click. Look at the best teams. They win because of the number 6. Rhodri, Makalele, Kante, etc. And I think that's what I was alluding to with Ryan Wintel is whilst I don't see or haven't seen what everyone tells me he's capable of, maybe that's not what we need. Maybe we just need him to do what he's done in these 2 games, tidy up, be decent with the ball, keep hold of the ball, be defensively responsible, hold the middle of the pitch, cover other players when they go forward, and that kind of experience, and just like sweep it up. Maybe that's what we need. We don't need like someone to be super progressive. And then if you need a bit of pace in there or a bit more aggression, you can put Eli in there. Maybe that's okay. I don't know. Josh says Eli King gets his head up more for me, also plays between the lines. Wintel's done well, but a little stiff and easier to read. Yeah, I think Wintel's got a good diagonal in him, actually, to switch play. I just don't see him. He's very sideways, backwards for me. But again, not always a bad thing, particularly when you've got real good ball players behind you and to the side of you, which we do. So, again, I wouldn't rule out those 2 being the competing number 6s, and then you've got other players who can drop in there if needs be. Paul says, Chambers has got to go for me. Not been overly impressed. We need a proper number 6. Winter will be okay in some games, but I feel it will be a problem at some point. Maybe, mate. I do work. Like, I often think, like, if Eli gets the nod ahead of him for the start of, the first 10 games, will he then get frustrated and be a problem? I don't know. Like, maybe it was just Errol Bullitt that he was a problem for as well. Evan says, sign Darko Gyabi, short loan for King, sell Wintel. Leaving yourself a bit short then, though, in that position, aren't you? Evening, Ian. McAnee says, does Lawler extend his contract yet? Not as far as I'm concerned, mate. For last thing I knew was that the person negotiating it is clueless tit. But again, yeah, just my opinion. Right, John, well, Jesus Christ, an hour already. Wow. There's so many comments in here. I need my moderator. Where's Matthew Angel? John says, if you go with Fish and Lawler, then you really need a good number 6 with defensive qualities. Do you? I don't know, mate. I just think Lawler's good. Ultimately, he's just a very good footballer, but he is young. John says Tucinoda's got a worse injury record than Tomlin, yeah. Rhys says Chambers was shocking on the ball yesterday, struggles with the pace of it, puts pressure on the others with his decision making. Yeah, he wasn't great yesterday, but I think generally he's all right on the ball. I would sell him, mate. I would, if it was up to me. Like this, I like, but people will disagree, by the way, but I like 3 at the back with wing backs, particularly if we've got young fullbacks. This is the 3 I would go with. Actually, it's not the 3, but I would go with a 3. So Rhodri says Chambers, Fish, and Lawler as a 3. I don't hate it. I like 3 at the back. I think having our young players be wing backs would take the pressure off them a little bit, and it gives them the ability to get back. I would possibly switch Bagan for Chambers in some games because I like a left footer. Mick says they'll have to offer Lawler a huge increase in wages to have any chance of persuading him to sign a new contract. He deserves to be on proper first team wages. Yes and no, but I think what you do is you give him like a massive incremental contract. So what I would do is I would offer him a 5-year deal with the option of a 6th. In the first year, I would give him the lower end of a first team wage, whatever that is. But I would say when you play 10 games, you get a 50% wage increase. When you've played 30 games, you get a 50% wage increase. But it's constantly going up. And I would do that all the way through his contract. So that by that 5-year period, when he's early 20s to mid 20s, he is on like the wages that if he's carried on playing and carried on excelling and gone with the trajectory that he's on, then he's going to be making bank. And if he doesn't and he tapers off, he doesn't. And that's the way I would do it. So it's done on how he performs, but he still gets the money that he deserves. Dan Lowe says Chambers and Lawler, that scares me. But I understand it's all opinions. And Lewis says, any news on Willock? I think he's going, mate. But just an opinion. Mark says Giles and Bagan left back. Yeah, I really. So, of course, it's preseason. You've got to bear in mind the opposition, etc., right? Of course you do. But the thing which I think the club are concerned about with him, with Giles, is not his ability. I don't even think it's his defensive qualities, because I think defensively he's pretty good. He's good in his duels. He's like understands his positioning and blah, blah, blah. It's the physicality. And I really noticed change in his physicality yesterday. Like, it was very aggressive. He didn't get shoved off the ball. He didn't get rolled. If that is like a genuine improvement in his physique and his game that he's done over the last sort of few months, do you keep him as the backup? I don't know, mate. It's a difficult one because we are going to have the youngest squad in the league as it is. Rhys says, so many people impressed me over the first couple of games. It's hard to know where to start. Can't get carried away. Yeah, you've got to take into account it's preseason, blah, 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 blah. And that's what has impressed me the most is the way that we look. This team looks coached now. We look structurally sound at the back and the mid, like when we're out of possession. The press looks structured. The press looks aggressive. The counter pressing looks great, which we weren't even doing before. Any player loses the ball, they're like, they get it back. Kepakio at one point lost the ball and he just sprinted back and won it back. And it was like, that encapsulates everything. And I just think we've gone from looking like a very uncoached team to suddenly they look coached. They look like they understand their roles. They understand collectively what they have to do, but they also understand individually what they have to do. And I think you have to give, bro. I know it's early days. I know it's preseason. I am not getting carried away, but I think you've got to say what you see, innit? And like, we were so bad. We've been so bad for the last couple of years in our press and our shape. So to see us that structural change so quickly, you've got to give him a bit of credit. You know, how many times last year did one pass through the middle of midfield just cut us open? I haven't seen that once in preseason. So it's interesting. Ian says, go with Fish and Lawler for centre-back pairing. Bagan as backup. He can slot in as centre-back or left-back. Sell Chambers. Interesting. Alex, welcome, my friend, says, I'm not sold on Fish or Turnbull. It's all opinions, mate. Evan says, I'm sorry, I don't rate Chambers at all. Highest paid player, and he looks like he's struggling with the pressure in pre-season. All opinions. Makinish says, Chambers is slow and predictable. Can't play the BBM system. A snail would work there. Mark says, such a good change to be talking so positively about the players. Yeah, mate, one of the reasons I'm looking forward to this season is I'm pretty, touch wood, I'm pretty hopeful and relatively confident that we're going to win more games than we have for the last couple of seasons. So it'd be nice to just win some games and have like that positive feeling, because Cardiff just ruined my weekend all the fucking time. Mick says, I don't rate Darland, Tete or Chambers. Would be happy to see him go. I think you might get your wish, mate, to be honest. I'm not so sure about Chambers leaving. There's been an inquiry about Chambers from I need a 9 from QPR, but I don't think it'll come off. I don't know. Ian says I'd loan out Mafico to a League Two or a Welsh League. We can't have him playing backup left back when he's a centre midfield. Yeah, I think Mafico going to like the National League would be a good move for him for a year to really like dumb it down, just to get battered about a bit. Like Paul says, what we've seen over the years, a lot of players in unnatural positions, which at times last season I thought made us disjointed. I want to see a right back play right back, left back play left back. I want a 6 to be a 6. Yeah, not at all. I think that's a good shot. Right, I'm gonna have to fly through some of these because we've just gone like time, so I'm gonna skip a few. I'm apologize. Martin says Jar's not ready. Yes, I gave a ball away too often yesterday. Needed coaching from the sideline, repositioning. Needs a loan. Yeah, you did say, mate. I think you alone would suit him, mate. And I think bringing in a left back, a more experienced left back, doesn't necessarily mean that like they're going to block Bagan, because Bagan can play centre back as well. I also think, how can I word this? I got a recruitment report coming out this week on Aston Villa fullback Troy Passon. Rhodri says, any truth to the link with David Aronson? Yeah, I believe, again, opinion only. I believe he was recommended by the Wales manager, Craig Bellamy. But I wouldn't be shocked if we signed him out whatsoever. I have no idea, though, whether we will or won't. Josh says, he was responding to someone else, says, Willock, Darlin, Latete all not made the cut. I mean, is that a shock to anyone if that was true? Like, I don't think so, but who knows? Right. Evan says, would love to see the Colwell brothers playing together. It would be really wholesome. Ruben wearing a number 3 in attacking midfield would be a class. Yeah, interesting. It'd be nice to see them play together for a bit, wouldn't it? I actually think that from watching Joel last season in League 1 and 2, I think his best position is as a number 8 rather than a number 10. I think he's a bit better because he's so busy. I think he could be a really good number 8 in a couple of years. Josh says, Willock, Darland, Atete, Chambers, Wintle, and Howworth can all go for me. Interesting. Yeah, I don't. Do I disagree with any of that? You got to replace him, like definitely replace him. But I wouldn't be upset really if any of them went. Ryan says, too many times last season was way too much space in the middle of the pitch. We need an athletic midfielder breaking up play and bossing the midfield. Yeah, that's why I like Darko Gyabi. I really like him, and I think he could be the key to unlocking that aspect of our team. Right, England. Yeah, I don't want to talk about England and Wales. Adam Shahid, what a man. Adam said, I would like to see how he could adapt and see his leadership quality could lead us to a positive season. Top shout, mate. Aha, and here he goes. A Pizzy, Austin, says, I think he would be a great captain, but there's loads of other options that we could choose from. There's a lot of money. I'm not sure why they've turned it down. Interesting. So those two boys are from my team. Just spotted them in my in the chat. Well in, boys. Well done today in the sun. So Josh says, who's the other keeper linked side? So we've obviously the Fleetwood keeper we've been linked to. I think we also, I think BBM retains an interest in the Manchester City under 21s keeper, and that Chelsea keeper who got released. I don't know who he is. I can't remember his name. Jonathan will tell me now. Begins with a B, I think. Adam, enjoying the show. Well done, mate. Top man. McAnee says, does die mean David in Welsh? Yeah, it does, mate. There he is. Lucas Borgstrom. There we go. Well in, mate. Right. You said it. Look at that. You answered that at 9 o'clock before I even got to these comments. Impressive, that is. Halftime Oranges says, if we sell any players now, surely that has a valuation effect on a potential sale. I'd imagine potential bidders would have no selling of players in negotiation stages. I mean, yes and no. Like, they have to be able to build the squad for next year. But I would suggest that the bigger players has an impact in it if you sell like your star players, but it's different. I mean, Howveth has got a release clause of 500 grand, I think it is. Lucas Bergstrom, 22, 6'8", released by Chelsea under 21s. Be interesting. So Bergstrom or Harrington, yeah. So like CCFC Insider, welcome, my friend, says, I thought the midfielder Colwell, Turnbull and Wintle had a nice blend. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought the balance was real nice with that. Real nice. Wintle still got to win me over. And I would probably, if it was me, like today, I'd probably switch King for Wintle. But I thought the balance and the blend of that midfield in the first half was nice. You've also got to remember, in the second half, Southend, first 15 minutes, pressed much better and much higher. They were much more aggressive. But out of possession, they were much more compact and more difficult to play through. So it became a bit more tricky for Cardiff for a bit. But once we settled, we were pretty good. Josh says, King, Wintle, Turnbull, Joel, Ruben in that order. Dan says, BBM said he's got specific targets. It's about quality, not quantity. Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. So Jamie says, so did Wintle play well? If he slowed the game down, did he slow it down in the right places at the right times in the game? Or was part of his play gone in the new style of play? Didn't see the game. So I didn't think he played badly. Like, I thought he did all right. He played a couple of nice diagonals. He broke up play. He kept it moving. He did his defensive job. I just don't see what some people who really like him, I don't see it. I know, like Dan has said to me a few times, he thought he was excellent the other day. I don't see that, but I thought he was very good. I just don't quite see it. I think we could do better. Maybe that's the better way of putting it. So I think he did well and he's doing well. I like that he's come back with a good attitude, etc. And I think he has the skill set to be a decent option in number 6. But I would like to see us get a better option. Does that make sense? Yeah, Hobart, I think, as a shot stopper is all right. It's with his feet he worries me. Dan says, don't rate Joe Baker, not dynamic enough for a BBM starter either, I don't think. That's a shout. Controversial for me. I thought he was one of our better players last year. I think Darland, Gavlar says, did Willock and Darland injured? Darland, I think, got a knock, didn't he, against Johar. Willock, I think, as I said earlier, I expect him to go, mate, to be honest. Right then, we're going into an hour 15 now, and I'm not even anywhere near the end of these comments. We need an out-and-out winger ASAP, says Gavlar. So, Gavlar, let me put this to you quick, mate. What have you made of Nyakawa? Because I think, as a skill set point of view, I think his movement off the ball, his like when to come short, when to go in behind, his link-up play with other players, all of that's been really good. It's just his crossing and his final ball or his decision-making or his pullbacks, that's what's let him down. But I would like to think that Brian Barry Murphy could work with that. They could do like a little, few weeks of training on it and maybe improve it. Mick says he hopes Willock's going. Bob Banks says, don't think losing Robertson would be a bad thing. He hasn't looked very good in pre-season so far. Yeah, he looks like his head's somewhere else, doesn't it? I don't like to do that because you're speculating on what someone's thinking. But we can only go on what we see, right? So what have we seen? Well, his performances haven't been very good. I think it's fair. His body language hasn't been much better. And one of the players had to do extra sprints yesterday because they had a bit of a strop. So, not saying who that was, but like, it is what it is, isn't it? It could just be that he needs to get fit, like, you know, like he just might be struggling for fitness and he's not quite fluid and he's just feeling a bit stiff and a bit not quite iron. Like, I would be happier to keep him than sell him. Right, let's have a look. Oh, I had too much sun today, I tell you that now. Josh says, give Colwell a 10. McAnee says, Bagan's clash. Bob Banks says, each to their own. What has he done to be called class? I just think Bagan is like one of those players who'll give you like a 7 out of 10 week out, week out. I don't think he's like incredible, but I don't think he lets you down either. Like, I thought he was really consistent last year. I also do think, though, that Brian Barry Murphy will want a slightly more dynamic left back. Don't forget the poll, which I'm about to go back to it now as well. So if you haven't filled in the poll, go to it on YouTube and fill it in. A couple of people talking about the keepers. Right, anyone else? Let's see if there's any more questions. Right, I'll answer one more question. Ask me an interesting one and I'll answer it. First one. Okay. Trying to bring up the poll a minute. Oh. So what's everyone been doing today in the sun? Barbecues, swimming pools. What's everyone been up to? We played football. It was a difficult afternoon for the boys because of the heat. A lot of water breaks, a lot of rotation, and because you're constantly changing the team, it's difficult for them to build partnerships and where they get settled and then it's too hot and you've got to get them off. But we scored 2 real good goals. One started the keeper, left back, all across the back 4, worked into midfield, little 1-2 on the touchline. Midfielder then broke in behind the fullback, crossed it up to the centre forwards, and he knocked it in. Class goal. And the other one was a big reverse pass, switch of play, through on goal. And Ryan going to end the poll. So look, 64% said they would be happy with Ruben Colwell as captain. 36, not so much. Pretty interesting. Most people are all right with it. For what it's worth, I don't see him being captain. For what it's worth, I think it'll probably be, if Chambers is here, I think it'll be Chambers. Personally, I would give it to Yusuf Salic. My screen's frozen, so I won't be answering any questions at the moment, and I can't end the show, so I'm going to keep talking while the screen catches up. Josh said, though, what did I have for breakfast? I didn't have breakfast, mate. So I had nicotine and caffeine. That's what I live on. What I have been drinking recently is Sneak energy drinks. They're much better for you, apparently, than Monsters. So I've been drinking them. I'm not sure about the Purple Storm flavor, but the Tropicilla and Raspberry Lemonade are banging. But it's not a sponsored ad, so they have to pay if they want advertising. There are other drinks available. Right, we're back. Right, what question am I going to answer? Jamie watched the 21s yesterday, said there's some real promising prospects that'll be on the outside trying to get in. Yeah. Bob Banks says he thinks Nyakawa will be a dark horse this season. Could see him breaking through like Barr did for Rochdale for BBM. Interesting. Josh says, agree, Bagan's dependable. John says, where do you see Robinson playing this season? Off the bench, mate. Back up to Yusuf Salic, I guess. Maybe he finds himself coming off the bench for wide or in the number 10. Like, I don't really like him in either position, so it was up to me. Be back up for Salic, but It is a tricky one, isn't it? Because of his wages as well. Bob Bank, that's a question and a half, mate. Would you prefer a sulking, unfit Robertson or a young, hungry local boy in Joel Colwell? I would go with Joel because he's so busy, and that aggression and energy is what we lack substantially. That's why one of the reasons I've been so impressed with Ruben. One of the reasons I really like Eli King is we lack urgency and aggression and midfield. And I think Joel gives that. So having him, I do think, look, if Robertson goes, maybe Turnbull will be the 8, Joel will be in the backup. I'd be all right with that. He's played at League One level and League Two level, so he's got that bit of men's football experience. So there you go. Josh, subs to Patreon. Well done, mates. Round of applause. Few people have. If you email Cardiff City World, I'll send you the WhatsApp link for the members. We got all sorts of content coming this week. I'm hoping to get the. Josh, just email Cardiff City World, mate, and I'll send you that link. I'm hoping to get the Omar Reset email. I've caught the sun on my head. Podcast edited, ready for later this week. Hopefully, but I'll have to find a time. Before I forget as well, I'm on the radio tomorrow again. It's Monday, 11 a.m. Newport City Radio. 1 hour of banging tunes. We start the week off right. You can listen to it on digital radio, TuneIn Radio, or their app, or Newport City Radio app. I'll be there. I'm on there from 10, but my show starts at 11. We'll be playing Guest the Years and all the different stuff. Right, I'll finish on this. CF11 News says, is there any news on incomings? Cardiff City World at gmail.com. I will play some Skin Dread, mate, for Macanish. In response to this, there are incomings coming. My understanding is they're ready. We are waiting. Rhys says you need better clues for Guest of the Year, mate. It's not my fault. You're a baby. Don't remember anything post 2012. Jeez, some of us got experience. Matt says, will Bale be back with another offer, and will he put a serious offer in Forced Hand's hand? Who knows, mate? But it could be too late if someone else is in there before him, couldn't it? Who knows? Because he's not the only interested party, is he? From what I read and hear and see. So I guess we'll see when we. Right, guys, I've given you an hour and a half after I stood in the sun all day, but it's been a pleasure. I love it. I love a Sunday breakdown. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Cardiff City World, 7 days a week. There should be another video tomorrow morning. I think it's the one on Isaac Davis, which will be recorded at Newport City Radio, incidentally. Join me on the radio tomorrow. If you are listening, there's a WhatsApp number which I read out about 20 million times in the show. Make sure you let me know. Say your name and all that. We've got Size Anthem, Guess the Year, among other things. Added time, indeed. Just because I'm in loving your company. Good numbers again. Like I say, tell your mates. Cardiff City World, isn't it? 7 days a week. It's the place to be. Keep the faith, my friends. And I will see you probably tomorrow. Nice one.